Hi everyone, in this video I'm bringing you the Barb-Smash HOTA build, and this is by far the best HOTA LoD setup that I could possibly make for speed farming grey drifts. This setup here is made to go really fast and actually still clears really high, and I'm able to farm somewhere between 115s and actually up to 120s in about 2 minutes on average. So the build is quite normal to the average setup, i.e. the push setup, but you have changed quite a few things to make it even faster. So we get a clear speed that is way faster, mainly due to two things. We have high attack speed and we also have Indium. So as you can see here, we're able to cross through this 117 in about a minute and a half, and this is what you can do in every single grey drift. It doesn't require any pylons or any specific things, so it's very consistent in clearing about 2 minutes, and you can do this even with low power run and low gear, as long as you have the correct rolls. And even the rift garden is also pretty easy because of the shockwaves that we're producing. Now the main thing to know about this build here is that the majority of your damage comes from the shockwave itself. Now you do also hit fairly hard yourself, specifically on your fire rotation, but the major of the damage comes from the shockwave. That is also why we have prioritized a lot of attack speed, so you get more and more shockwaves. So let's get into the build and see how you set this up so you can also start blasting graves like this, shall we? Now this is of course the LoD HOTA build, so we have of course full ancient items, and we can't have any sets completed. You can have set items like this, but not a 2-piece or more than that. And the main reason this build is so good is because of the Hammer of the Ancient power. When you hit, you also create these shockwaves, and these are incredible high damage, but they also have a very large area of effect, and it can even go through walls. So the main thing we are doing is of course just charging around, and we are creating shockwaves. So of course the faster we can hit, the more shockwaves we are producing. That's also why you normally see the other variation with the Echoing Fury, is because of that setup there. But the main thing we're after is of course a high attack speed for the shockwaves, but we also want Echoing Fury for reducing the cooldowns of our Wrath of Berserker, our Call of the Ancients, and of course also our Furious Charge, so we can charge through the rift and be very consistent clears in about 2 minutes. So I've also tested a lot in terms of Echoing Fury, and they seem to be quite equal, at least in terms of the damage numbers, but Indium seems to be way more consistent and also a lot more fun to play with, since you can just charge around and fight pack to pack. Now it's also important to know in terms of gameplay, you have of course Zodiac, so you do reset your cooldowns by hitting things of course with your hammer. You will reset your Zodiac, but the main thing you're after is of course your Indium, so you have higher cooldown reduction and also always can charge. That means that you need to find packs to packs. We are doing what's called elite hunting, so we only stop basically when you find elites. Now if you find like really big packs of monsters with like high progression, you can quickly kill them with a shockwave, but the primary thing we're doing with this build is elite hunting and finding more elites for the Indium procs. So the Indium combined with the shockwave power is why this build is so strong. Now let's go over the basic gear. So of course on the weapons we have percent damage, attack speed and cooldown. The most important here would be the cooldown and attack speed. If we look into our attack speed here, we have 2.38 attack speed. There's another attack speed breakpoint. Basically attack speed doesn't do anything for you unless you have specific breakpoint hits. And with this attack speed here, we actually hit another breakpoint with our Hammer of the Ancients. This will require some good gear in terms of hitting this attack speed breakpoint here, but as long as you are prioritizing attack speed and hitting certain breakpoints, you will be fine. For the wings, we of course have COE with attack speed crit crit, and the Zodiac with attack speed crit chance and cooldown reduction. So we have removed the resource cost and put it in the socket. Now the cool thing about the COE is you actually have 2 rotations that do damage. So of course we're playing a fire build. We have Cinder Code, we have fire on our squirts, on our braces. We are playing with the Hammer of the Ancients fire rune. But actually what is also really cool is that the Hammer of the Ancients power here with the shockwave is actually physical damage. So not only do you have one rotation with your fire being really high damage, also the physical rotation on shockwave is also incredible damage. It can actually end up one-shot the Rift Guardian if your physical rotation lines up with the shockwaves. For the gloves, we have an Archive's Gauge, we have attack speed and crit crit. Now the reason for this item is of course for this shield. The first time an elite pack attacks you, you get absorb shield equal to 130% of maximum life. Basically you get a shield here, and this ties into having really high squirts up time, and this is by far the best glove you can have here. In terms of the shoulders, of course, Fear of the Ancients gives you Call of the Ancient effect, of course. On the helmet, large crown, try and get a high secondary. This helps a lot in terms of getting a higher cooldown reduction. This, of course, is very nice for this build here, since we have some pretty big important cooldowns, so high cooldown reduction is very nice for it. So on the chest piece, we have Cinder Code here, but this speed here is not really that important that you get a high secondary, so any kind of Cinder Code with a higher fire skill damage is more than fine. For the build, Witching Hour, Strength, Vitality, Attack Speed, and Crit. Very nice for this build here. Make sure you get a 7% attack speed here to really get that breakpoint. For the pants, we're using the Black Thorns pants because they actually roll with fire damage. Now mine are not perfect here because I have armor instead of all res, but you want fire damage, dexterity, vitality, and all resistance. And for the boots, there are 2 options. We either have ice climbers like this or illusionary boots, and both of these will work really well. For the amulet, of course, Squirt's amulet amazing damage, and it works perfectly with just an archer's gauge, so you actually have a shield from that. And of course, you want fire damage crit. It doesn't have to be ancient, but as long as you have fire crit, that's what a really good scorch would look like. And for the braces, the Mortix brace, you could of course also have the brace of the first men. Just use the best one you have and cube the other one. And for legendary gems, we have Legacy of Dreams, of course, LoD build, you kind of need it. And then you have Bane the Trapped, and then also Sage Stone of Vengeance. And the Sage Stone of Vengeance is fantastic due to the shockwave. The shockwave will go up for almost the entire screen, and this Sage will proc insane damage, so you clear the entire screen when you ever get the shockwaves due to your Sage also helping out. And of course, in our cube, you have the Gallop of Judgment, kind of needed for a HOTA build, where the Brace of First Men. Like I said before, you can either choose one of these and equip the other one, and then Bane of Might in here for the massive damage reduction. For the spells, Battle Rage Bloodshed, we have Hammer of the Ancients with fire, and of course Call of the Ancients together as one. Sprint Marathon. Now Sprint here has a really cool mechanic because increased movement speed will lower the animation of a furious charge. So the higher movement speed you have, the less the animation will be from your charge, and therefore you can go even faster through the entire rift. So make sure that when you're charging from pack to pack, because you're elite hunting, activate your sprint when you're charging to have higher movement speed, so you get charge faster. And of course, Furious Charge with Mercer's Assault here, have more charges, and just use this to get from elite to elite and kill them and move on. And of course, we have the Berserker with Insanity, big damage. For passive, we have Ruthless, we have Rampage, Berserker Rage, and Boon of Bulkathas. Now, it's also important to notice is that on a follower, you also need attack speed. So you have the access to all skills relic, and you of course then get the 6% attack speed here, which is very important. Now of course, in order to use the gain access to all skills relic, you need a tanky follower. So in the description I will link my D3 planet where you can see how to set up a follower. Basically you can see all these items here and see how to set up and to get over 1 billion toughness. You can actually get this all the way up to 2 billion with a bit more optimization. 1 billion is more than plenty for speed rifts. But of course, always make sure that Flavor of Time, Nemesis Braces, and Oculus Wing equipped on your follower while doing speed DRs, as they are mandatory for any follower. And also a really good stat to have is bonus to gold and globe radius, basically pickup radius. You see these gloves have pickup radius. This stat here is so undervalued, but is honestly one of the best stats in the entire game when you're doing speed DRs, because if you only have 5 or so, you have to go many around and pick up every single globe orb that spawns for progression, whereas when you get them high enough, they'll just automatically suck them in as you charge by them, which means you are saving multiple seconds per elite pack because of your pickup radius. So make sure to try and get at least around 15 pickup radius for really good quality of life. So in terms of the gameplay, like I said before, we are an elite hunter. All you do is charge around from pack to pack and just mow them down, activate your shockwaves, and kill them off. You can also hit a few targets on the way if you feel like it, but you don't really have to at all. It is mostly just about getting to pack for high progression, and of course also proccing your Indium for high cooldown, so you can charge even more after that as well. Now the Shockwave will absolutely destroy the Rift Guardians, which is also very nice. So even on a build like this that is really high for AoE damage, you're also able to kill Rift Guardian due to the Shockwaves. And that is also why we have so much attack speed, and why we worry about the attack speed breakpoint is to have many more shockwaves so you can clear the Rift and the Rift Guardian faster. So as you can see, while charging around, you of course want to activate your sprint to have fast animation of your charge, and then all you're doing is just keeping up your battle rage, Call of the Ancient, and your Wrath of the Berserker. So this build actually works really well, and this build is also really nice because it actually doesn't hurt to play at all. You don't have any things you are spamming whatsoever. You just hold down all the buttons basically. So it's a very nice chill build, and also with high quality of life just due to how the build is. And if you're playing a Barb or planning on making a Barb, I would highly recommend send this build up, as this is by far the best and the fastest build I've ever seen for the new Barbarian build, and it's probably the most efficient Paragon farmer and GR farming you can ever make for HOTA Barb in this season. Of course, make sure to go in the D3 planet down below if you want to see the items yourself. If there's any questions or concerns about this, you can also join us over on twitch.tv, where I stream Diablo 3 every single day. That's over on twitch.tv/Saluter, and we have a ton of fun over there, and I'd highly recommend you come and check us out and join in on the fun while we are blasting. Hope you guys found this video useful. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you in next video. Peace out, folks.